I'd like to think in terms next of more concrete instantiations of this. One way of, particularly when we are talking to younger people about abstract principles, is to teach morals in terms of role models. And so what we do is we have the students read stories or read journalistic pieces or historical accounts of people who exemplify what we take to be the right kind of moral behavior. So we might choose George Washington as an example of honesty, right, in action, or we might find someone to be an exemplar of integrity or whatever the value that we want to have the students learn. So let's try to think of people who might be in the position, realistically, of role models that students might likely have heard of, so we can point out examples of them. Or even from an adult context, just think of actual people, right, historically, who would be exemplars of these approaches, so that we can concretize them in our own minds. So take, for example, egoism. Here the phenomenon I want to focus on is the fact of young people who are interested in sports and who will idolize various sports heroes. So for many years, for example, throughout the 1990s and on into the early 2000s, Michael Jordan was the #1 sports hero around the world, particularly among young people. What was it about Michael Jordan, even kids who didn't know him personally, that made him such an attractive figure? What is Michael Jordan's life embodying? And so we would say something like the following. Well, clearly Michael Jordan pursued the career that he did because he loves the game of basketball. It's a thing that gives him great fulfillment. He worked very hard at practicing his basketball skills and talents and developed that in combination with his natural talents until he was an extraordinary basketball player. As a result of that, he was able to achieve all sorts of life goals. He won various championships. He earned lots of money. He got lots of respect, even adulation from various sorts of people. So he has received enormous values in all kinds of categories that make people happy and have a sense that their lives are flourishing. And what was the effect of Michael Jordan's pursuing his dream, working so hard, and achieving the success that he did on other people in society more broadly? And here we would say it was enormously beneficial. Obviously, the teams that he was playing against regularly, they lost certain games, and so they suffered losses, but that was in the context of a competitive structure from which they were all benefiting. But clearly the great benefit, or the great result of Michael Jordan's behavior is a mass benefit. Those of us who enjoy watching basketball played at its highest level got great pleasure from watching Michael Jordan play. His teammates and the owners of the team reaped very great values as a result of Michael Jordan's doing what he did. Advertisers who were willingly paying him millions of dollars to promote their products saw him as an asset, as a value to use to promote their products in a way that was beneficial to them. So what we have then in Michael Jordan's approach is someone who is acting in his best self-interest, who has achieved great benefits in his life, and the result of his doing so is a great deal of benefit to various other people. And people, of course, who are just not interested in basketball, they are left neutral. So I would put Michael Jordan here as an exemplar and say that part of the appeal of Michael Jordan as a role model, as a hero, is a kind of moral appeal that he stands for a certain approach to living one's life, a value approach to one's life that is enormously admirable to the extent that one is an egoist. If we think of a more adult example, many people in the business world will admire someone like Bill Gates. And we can tell a similar sort of story here. Bill Gates, as a young man, loved the world of computers and poured himself heart and soul and brain, very powerful brain, into the world of computers. Developed his skills in that area, made some very good business decisions, again, worked hard for a number of years doing something that he loved. So he was pursuing his self-interest as he defined it. He reaped, again, all sorts of benefits as a result of doing so. A great deal of money, pride in building up Microsoft as the kind of organization that it was. And then the net effect on other people is beneficial. Millions, if not billions, of people around the world use Microsoft products to their advantage. They pay a certain amount of money, and the net value of what they're able to do with those software products as a benefit, a net benefit rather to them. So again, Bill Gates seems to be an exemplar of an egoistic, right, approach, and to the extent that he is seen as a role model, people say, yeah, that's what I would like to achieve in my life. That, I think, is what they are focusing on. Now, there are going to be controversies about both of these individuals. Did Bill Gates, in all of his actions, engage in creative productivity and win-win trade? Were some of his activities or some of the things that Microsoft engaged in more predatory? Of course, there are arguments that are going to be engaged in there. We can make the same sort of issues in the case of Michael Jordan. Did Michael Jordan ever foul people or break the rules and get away with it? We can argue certainly about all of those things as well. But clearly the center of gravity, right, morally speaking, in the case of Bill Gates is productive achievement and win-win trade, and the same thing can be said of Michael Jordan in the sports world.